Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so grateful that you are here and I hope that you are having an absolutely magical, fantastic, beautiful, wonderful, all the good things, morning, afternoon, or night, whatever it is for you when this video finally reaches you. I'm not gonna lie, guys, this feels so strange. It has been so long for me since I've sat down to film a video, and I'm just so excited because I feel like I have taken the perfect amount of time to go through all the things I'm about to tell you and come back feeling like the best version of myself once again, which is so incredible to even say out loud. If you've been on my channel for a while and this isn't the first time you're seeing me, I have taken quite some time off of my channel over the past couple of months. And normally when I've left my channel in the past, it's like cause for concern or reason for concern because it meant that there was things going on in my life that were kind of holding me back from filming these videos. But this time it was completely different. I have went through the most insane, profound, life-altering, spiritual awakening. I've been through so much over the last couple of months, and I have found my way back to myself once again, and my faith, and my spirituality, and my inspiration, and my creativity. And it has been such a journey, but my goodness, it goes so much deeper than just fixing my life. Today, I'm going to share with you guys what I've been going through and why it is I feel like I have jumped to a parallel reality or just completely switched timelines in my life. I know that by saying this, there are going to be people who think that I am absolutely crazy. So if anything you take from this, it is that it is never too late for you. Your life isn't over and you can always find your way back to who you are and who you've been all along. Now, before I get into this experience and this story, this is very, very real to me. I want to mention that I'm going to start off by explaining a medical event that happened to me. But what I don't want anybody watching this video to assume is that because I've accumulated all of this to this greater spiritual moment for me, that it takes away from the medical emergency that I experienced. I just want everybody to know that I have spoken with my doctor. I have had my doctor's appointments. We have dug deeper, and thank goodness I am cleared for everything as of now, obviously. But with that said, I didn't automatically have this experience and then jump into being like, it's spiritual, like it was all just spiritual. It was very much a medical emergency in the moment, and it's what transpired afterwards that leads me to believe that there was a lot more to that medical event for me. And I'm really, really excited to share this with you guys. One last thing I want to mention is if my voice seems a little raspier than usual, I have had a lost voice for like almost a month, which is why me filming this has been prolonged when I would have loved to have filmed this like a month ago. So bear with me. But with that being said, let's get into everything that has happened leading up to 2024 and the way my life has entirely shifted this year. So backtracking for a moment here, I have always been a very, very spiritual, optimistic, positive, everything happens the way that it's meant to type of gal, pretty much since I was born. There has been a number of severely traumatic events in my life that transpired prior to me plummeting down. And I always came at them with such a positive outlook, with such trust in the universe, in the higher power, in God as I call it, but whatever you choose to identify it as. I've always held faith, and I've never allowed exterior circumstances to keep my frequency down for long. That's not to say that I haven't felt low at points, but I've always had a really great bounce back rate. That was until 2020. As I'm sure was very evident on my channel, when that dreadful year hit, I felt all of the negative energy that was around me, all of the fear, all of the uncertainty. My channel, there were people like, how can you be talking about these things when the whole world is falling apart? And for a moment there, it started to get my vibration down. I started posting way less frequently. I didn't really know my place in the world because my job, as far as like on a day-to-day basis, wasn't entirely affected. I was still able to film. I was still able to do my thing. But simultaneously, I was carrying this guilt now that my job was still existent and everybody else's world around me was just on hold. It was crumbling. And I accumulate that to kind of the start of my downfall and my energy just depleting and my bounce back rate just becoming non-existent, because that was the first time in my life that everything just felt so uncertain. And one thing for me is, even though I have social anxiety and I'm not the world's most social butterfly, I have to spend a lot of time with my family. It's so important to me. It recharges me. It rejuvenates me. And obviously in 2020, my Grams was still alive, but I wasn't able to spend any time with her for months on end. Obviously, everybody was saying the elderly are most at risk. And I loved her so much that even though it was painful for me to not go see her because she was like, I don't care, come see me, I felt like I couldn't. And so when a year later, my grandmother would wind up in the hospital unexpectedly and pass away, I had so much anger towards that situation, and we'll get there in a second. But I also had so much regret because the last year of her life, she spent in isolation. And I know that that wasn't my fault. It wasn't her fault. It was the world circumstance, but that was just the reality. And I remember during the time of her being in the hospital, I was asking you guys for so many prayers. Hundreds of thousands of you prayed for her. And when she passed away, it was the first time in my life that I felt like my prayer was useless. And obviously, I've done a lot of soul searching since then, and I understand that wasn't the case. We have soul contracts. Hers was up, unfortunately. But for me, I just felt like very bitter towards the universe. It felt like they had just taken the one person that could calm me in any situation, my Grams and my mom, and they had just taken Grams, and I prayed so hard. I did so much for her to be okay. And so when she wasn't, it now became why do I bother? And from that moment on, I started noticing a massive change in myself. The way that I approached the world, the way that I approached my spirituality. I really stopped praying for a while there. I stopped doing my spiritual practices. I still believed in it. I just felt like it was all for nothing for me. I was losing everything around me, it felt like, and I was losing myself. And that sounds really dramatic, but it was the truth, and so many people could see it. And the hardest part for me was everybody on here in my day-to-day life was like, I miss you. I miss Hailey. This is not you. And all I could say was, I miss her too. Like, there were nights where I'd be awake, like, I just want to be that girl again. But oh my gosh, it could make me emotional thinking about it. I'm not going to cry, but I was just thinking to myself, like, I miss her. And for a while there, it honestly felt like I was never going to be that version of me again. It's why I stopped showing up on YouTube, because I felt like the me that you guys had fallen in love with, the me that built this community and this channel, she had died with grandma. Like, it was just like, it was done for me. I was so physically ill at the time, not with any sort of like illness per se, just I had so much anxiety and so much stress that I was throwing up all the time just from anxiety. I was so not me on so many levels. And again, I felt like for a while there, it was all over for me. Like, that's really, truly how I felt. And it sounds dramatic, but unless you've been there, you can't understand, because everyone around me was like, all you have to do is just like show up. You have everything right there for you. But even showing up for myself was this daunting task. You would think when my grandmother passed away, being the people that we are, I would be trying to communicate with her and connecting with her. And the idea was so hard because I was angry at her for not choosing to stay with me. That's how I was feeling. Flash forward, the end of 2023. So no, I was in that dark house from the beginning of 2020 when all of this started, that dark, haunted, horrible house. Thank you for the shelter and whatnot at the time that it was, but I would never go back there. And so that was from 2020. And then in 2023, I decided enough is enough. I cannot keep living this way. I need to change my environment at the very least. This house is going to kill me. Like, that's literally how I was feeling. And like, this house is going to kill me, which was later confirmed if you've watched my haunted house video. But anyways, I just kept thinking like, I have to get out. I have to get out. That's it. So I found this condo, my dream condo. I love this condo. I wake up every single day grateful for it, like every single day. So anyways, I moved to the condo and things start to get a lot better. People start noticing that there's this change in me again, this light that is slowly coming back. And it wasn't instant, but the minute I moved here, I felt like this instant relief. Like, I was like, we can start focusing now on getting better and being better and showing up again in life and being excited about life. Like, I had pretty much given up on every single dream I ever had. Like, I had gotten to a point where I was just existing. I was not living anymore. And I didn't have this like vision for the future anymore. It was a really dark, really scary period. And so approaching the end of last year, I was like, something has got to give. And I think the very first step is to push that like human ego aside, that spiritual ego that I had built up where I wasn't even getting signs from my angels. I was so just focused on getting through the day. There was no inspiration. There was no passion. And I remember thinking, I gotta just get back to basics, which is life is a gift. I'm here to feel all of these deep, hard emotions that just don't exist on the other side. They don't. Anger, resentment, jealousy, depression, none of that exists on the other side, right? I had to remind myself, I am a spiritual being that is flawed, having this earthly experience that is bound to be flawed, but it is all for the evolution of my soul and to grow and to learn. And like, I started reframing the way that I was looking at things, like approaching the end of the year. I was like, what is serving me in my life and what is wholeheartedly not serving me? Because I was in a spiral of just self-sabotage. And so I sat back and I was like, I am Hailey and I'm here for a purpose. And you know what? These dark years, they are for my soul's growth. And it's okay. It's okay to be down. It's okay to feel like it's over for you. But it's the reminder, we're here to remember who we are, that we are so much more than these earthly shells. We are so much more than this physical body. We are so much more beyond that. And the beauty of life is to go through the hardest of things and to find your way back to love and light and yourself again. It's just a whole journey of coming home to who you really are. And when it's all said and done, when my time is up, I'm going to look back on this and be like, what a beautiful thing to have experienced such pain from the loss of my grams, because in order to feel such deep, immense pain by a loss, you had to have had something so great to lose in the first place. And it sounds corny, but my pain was so deep because my love was so much deeper. And it was a pain for what I had lost. It wasn't a pain that she had now crossed on because she was with my grandfather again. She is, in the most beautiful of places. And I know she's still here with me simultaneously. So approaching the end of the year, I started shifting my mindset. I started getting back into the spiritual work of knowing what I emit is what I receive. I am the creator of my own reality. I can't blame anybody or have any bitterness or resentment towards anybody for how I've changed and who I've become, because I hold the key and the only key to who I become and how I change. That's up to me. I don't get to control anything other than my reaction to it and how I choose to view things. So I started totally reframing my mind again and doing the spiritual work of, I am choosing happiness today. I used to think it was so ridiculous when I was upset and people would say to me, happiness is a choice. It was something that I had said prior to me getting to that low, but all of a sudden those words angered me because I'm like, oh, so you're insinuating I'm choosing sadness, I'm choosing depression. That wasn't what they meant per se, but there are two different frequencies, two different worlds occurring at every given moment of life, a high frequency and a low frequency. And we get to choose, we get to quantum leap between what frequency we choose to exist in. And this is a whole other video, and I'm going to get totally into it. This is just my journey here, but I'm going to do a whole video on choosing and creating your reality, law of attraction, but on steroids, if you will, and dive into even like the science behind it and just energies and everything and how much more powerful we truly are. But when they say happiness is a choice, the frequency at which you choose to vibrate at is a choice. It may not always be a conscious choice, but through the things that you're doing, the choices you're making, the people you're surrounding yourself with, you are choosing your world, and you are choosing which world you want to exist in. And so I started waking up choosing a good world, and it all became about perspective, right? So for an example of this, somebody close to me is going through some medical things right now. And I said, it's all perspective on whether or not further testing is a good thing or a bad thing, whether it's a positive or a negative. It's how you frame it. You could look at it as, hey, they're digging deeper because something could be wrong. Or you could look at it as, hey, they're digging deeper. And no matter what it is, I'm about to feel so much better because we're about to figure out the root of things, and I'm going to figure out what I can do to be better. It's all how you choose to perceive it. So approaching into the end of the year, right at New Year's, I put my entire heart, soul, everything on the line for spirit, for the universe, for God. I got on my hands and knees and I prayed in a way that I haven't prayed in a very, very long time. I surrendered all expectations. I surrendered every poor decision I've made that I've let sink on me and weigh on me for all these years. I surrendered it all, and I made the choice that this year, no matter what was thrown at me, no matter what it looks like, I am choosing the human experience in all of its glory, and I'm reminding myself that everything is happening for me, not to me. And what I mean by this, I have to remind myself of this all the time. We like to think, why are all of these things happening to me? Why does this bad things always happen to me? When really they're not happening to us, they're happening for us. Like there have been so many circumstances in my life where I look back and I reflect and I'm like, in the moment, I could not see a light at the end of that tunnel. There was nothing for me that I could see that being of positive in my life. But years later, I look back and those events in my life were blessings in disguise. They got me here. And they made me stronger and more resilient and kinder and more empathetic. I had always went through my whole life believing that we can all choose love and light. And yes, we can. But I had never faced such a low of darkness where I finally had so much more compassion and empathy for those who saw no way out or who think that there's no way out. But I remind myself now that I can serve as a better human being now, having went through that, because now when I show up here on my channel consistently, I show up with so much more grace and compassion and understanding for the human race and the human experience, because I know what it's like to feel hopeless and to feel like you've destroyed your life. So I go into New Year's and I say that giant prayer. And I even only had a glass of champagne on New Year's because I'm like, I'm not going into the new year drunk, at a low frequency or vibration, waking up the next day, starting off my year not feeling great. And no shame to anybody who had fun like that on New Year's. I still had so much fun. But I had a glass of champagne at midnight and I woke up with a clear head and I said, this is the year I change my life. This is the year I find my way back to who I was, but I grow into who I was always meant to be beyond that. And this is the year I just give up control, which as a diagnosed OCD girly is not easy for me, but give up control, show up as I am, show up as best I can, and surrender the rest. I don't need to know how my life is going to work out. I don't need to know that my YouTube channel is going to come back to life. I just have to show up and just hope for the best. Well, here's where the whole shift happens for me. The first 2 weeks of New Year's, I felt like I was shifting, but I felt like I needed a massive jump, and I didn't know what it was going to take to do that. All I knew was that I was going into the new year with a clear head and no more self-sabotaging and just showing up and being Hailey as I was always meant to be. And I remember one particular day, I've already briefly told you guys this, but for those of you who may not have watched the video, I'll briefly tell you. absolutely everything was going wrong. Everything. Like things on a level that like you wouldn't even think could go wrong, and they've all been resolved. But it was just one of those days where I was like, what more? And that was when I got a phone call from my mom saying that they believed that there could be like an aneurysm rupturing or something crazy like that in her stomach. And she was being rushed to the hospital. And even at that point, I had spoken to Lana, and Lana was like, she needs to go to the hospital. I will spoiler alert it for you. She's totally fine. She was totally okay. But I was just at a breaking point. I was like, my heart was racing. I was sweating. I was pacing. I didn't know what to do. I was like literally telling God, this can't happen right now. I need my mother. I know everyone needs their mother. I know everyone needs everyone. I'm no better than anyone to pray for my loved one. But I was like, I'm just coming out of this rut. This can't happen right now. So I'm surrendering. But I really, really need you to pull through on me here. I need her to be okay. And so I find peace in that. I re-regulate myself, which is something I've been super working on. And I go to my office here and I'm researching a video. That's all I remember until I'm waking up on the floor, so confused. Tyler's freaking out above me and I taste blood in my mouth and I don't know what's happening. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's happening. And all I hear him say is, you just had a seizure. You just had a seizure. And I've never had a seizure in my life. Never once. Knock on wood, haven't had one since. Never had a seizure. So I'm confused. And he keeps repeating, oh my God, I thought you died. I thought you died. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even remember anything leading up to it. That's the most terrifying thing of all for me. Oops. And so I'm like, what do you mean? I've just had a seizure. Like, what? And I'm so confused. And I'm telling Tyler, like, and he wanted to take me to the hospital. I'm refusing to go. And he's confused. He doesn't know what to do either. Like, we're just like, what the hell? Hindsight, we should have went to the hospital, but we didn't at that point. And I was laying on the couch and I'm just like so confused. And he's giving me ice. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do with it. And I just feel like out of it. And then all night I was fine. And then I ended up going to my doctor, obviously, and we went over it. We attributed it to a couple of things, but nothing that was like really deeply medically related. And she wasn't concerned that it was going to be a reoccurring thing. We did all the proper testing. Don't worry, all is well. But for the weeks after this, I just felt so strange. All of a sudden, when I came out of that seizure, it felt like everything was the same, but absolutely different. And this is going to be very difficult for me to explain, but I'm going to do my best to. I felt like I was Hailey. This is going to sound crazy. Again, I've spoken to my doctor. There's nothing wrong with this. I felt like I was Hailey, and I was in my same condo, and I had all my same people, and all my memories were the same, but everything felt different. It was like the moment I came out of that seizure, I was a new version of me. This sounds wild, but I need you guys to bear with me, okay? So I start believing that I'm suddenly like this new version of me, but I'm not processing that yet. So everything felt so different. And what I mean by this even is I went to my doctor, obviously, and then when all was said and done and we realized like it was just a crazy health incident, I'm okay, whatever. I started talking to her about my anxiety, but in a whole new light. I was like, I want to find the proper like medication for me. I want to do the work in therapy. I want every resource I can have to better myself mentally, physically, emotionally, just all the things. Like, I want the help. Prior to that, I had accepted that I wasn't fixable, and it just shifted. It was like my brain totally reset during the seizure. And so I ended up getting the help from my doctor and starting, my spiritual practices, going on walks whenever I was anxious, not going out anymore, reading all the time. Like, everything just felt so different. And I remember one day I looked at Tyler and I said, it's so weird because I know I've always been your girlfriend, but I feel like I'm here now, but it's different. And I couldn't explain what that meant. But he even, when I came to my realization after, said to me like, I knew something was different the minute you came out of that seizure too. It was like you had your glow back. Like, you were just a totally different version of you. And so I start journaling throughout all of this. I go and I buy this journal and I'm like something has shifted in my mind so deeply that I need to start journaling through it because I can't even process what's different, but something is so different. So I'm journaling through this, okay? And a little bit goes by, my life is just on the upward trajectory. I didn't come back to my channel full time yet because I knew when I came back this time, it needed to be consistent. I needed this to be my creative outlet again, my daily thing that I do. Like, I needed it to be this 150% positive return in all ways. And so I hadn't uploaded yet, but I was doing all this work. And then I ended up reading a book called Proof of Heaven, A Neurosurgeon's Journey into the Afterlife. And it's a really fascinating read. But I ended up reading this book about a near-death experience. And what's crazy is in his journey, he ended up suffering a grand mal seizure. And then after that was no longer within his body. I think he was put into an induced coma. Don't quote me on it. But either way, right from the moment that he had that seizure and whatnot, he ended up in the spirit realm. And he had a whole near-death experience, and it was incredible. But as I was reading this, it started registering in my head, like, what if I had some sort of like a near-death experience during the seizure that I just don't remember? And maybe I came back and I realized the value of life, and I like shifted into a more positive path of life for me, where everything was the same, but suddenly so different. And so I put it out there to my angels. I'm like, if this is like perhaps what happened, I would love some sort of a sign just so I can, and granted, I hadn't said the words out loud. This was all in my mind. So it's not like my phone was listening to my mind, unless we've got that far, which is a little scary. And I was like, I want to know more if this is what happened. I shit you guys not, okay? A couple of hours later, I'm taking a bath before bed and I'm scrolling on TikTok. And I see a channeler whose like spirit, entity, extraterrestrial, whatever you want to call them, that they were channeling, came through and explained. So one of the people had asked a question. I'll put this up on the screen if I still have it. They had asked a question saying, what did they say? They were like, I believe that I died. There was a situation in which I shouldn't have survived. And when I came to, it felt like everything was the same but different. And the channeler goes on to say that that happens often with people. Sometimes you remember it and sometimes you don't. And one of the examples that they said was that there was an individual who had died and went up to the spiritual realm and was shown how good life can get and made the choice to come back. But in order to come back, they had to come back to a reality that was so similar to their previous one, but yet so different. And the minute I watched this video, I was like, holy shit, I believe wholeheartedly that something spiritual happened in the gap of which I was not present in my body that I don't remember. But all I know is that when I came back, it was like everything that I'd been wishing for energetically was back. My zest for life, my need to dig deeper into the beautiful parts of spirituality and the magic of our world. And like, I was suddenly transported back to 2017 Hailey, who started this channel. And all these ideas for content were coming to me that are so in alignment with the type of content I used to film. And I was like, something is so different. So I started reflecting back on my journal entries at the beginning of the year because I only had this realization about a month ago. And there are two that I want to share a couple parts with you. So one of which here I had wrote, okay, so this is a little bit unrelated to my realization, but there's a reason. I had wrote, so this is halfway through the entry, but it says, the idea that we simply live and die and the world keeps on spinning is scary. And I mean, it is, but what if it isn't? I have grown to find peace in the fact that with or without me, the world keeps spinning. I am in the magical process of learning and unlearning all that I am and all that I want. Connection, art, kindness, honesty. I finally get the artist and what it means to be one. To create magic from the painful and the mundane, and to grow from the ashes and destruction that sometimes you created yourself. I blame no one for my reality because I know I create it. Magical, isn't it? No one can truly understand the power and responsibility in that until they receive exactly as they asked for better or for worse. So that was when I was starting to learn, like, there was power in me again. There's power in all of us. And I remember when I started reading through these journal entries, I found this one from shortly after the seizure. And listen to this, okay? So much of my life right now feels like a dream. I know time is passing, but it still feels distant in a way I can't explain. It feels more like a past life than this life's past. That right there is exactly it. All the parts of my life feel broken up and separated. Like I have these memories, but so much trouble placing myself there. Sometimes my grandma and grandpa feel like a dream. Even my mom can sometimes feel like a dream. Like, what if it's me who died out of that life and was transported here? I intend to do a lot more soul searching in that regard. Maybe it's a feeling of missing something I know I can never physically have as it was again. Of all I miss most right now, it's just a feeling. But in reflecting on this, I was realizing that it all just felt like, the best way I can explain it is it feels like life before my seizure. So life from 2020 to the start of 2024 feels like a period of my life that's in a completely different universe. It feels like a parallel universe to me where I'm not as optimistic, positive, and on my life path. This sounds crazy, but it's truly how it feels. And the moment from that seizure onwards, I feel as though I resonate once again with me prior to 2020. So it's as though I'm back in a frequency, back in a reality, in a world in which I am living up to my utmost potential. It's wild. But nonetheless, I wonder if something happened spiritually during that seizure that reset me. Perhaps it was having something so terrifying and traumatic occur that that's what it took in order for me to be like, life is precious, life is worth living. I want to see the world. Like I have this whole new sense of passion for life again, for creation, for being here, for even being myself. There was a period where every bad decision I ever made, I held it over my own head. I would repeat them and repeat them and repeat them in the shower while I'm trying to sleep. And it wasn't even anything that crazy. It was just me out of alignment. And now I'm like, I just want to hug that version of me, give her so much love and compassion, and remind her that every day that we wake up is a new opportunity to become exactly who we were always meant to be and who we know we can be. You would not have woken up today if you did not have purpose here. It is that simple. You're only given life until you have done all that your soul set out to do in this lifetime. If you're waking up today, which you have, it's because you are meant to be here. And you may be in the dark period that I was in right now. And maybe this video is what you needed to remind you that we all go through it. But it's what we do with that darkness and what we turn that darkness into that defines our soul and our journey. When I say do all things with kindness, it doesn't mean that I am the kindest, most loving, perfect example of a human 24/7. Absolutely not. I am human. I am flawed. I'm going to make mistakes. I have made mistakes. But at the core of me, I try to do all things with kindness. I try to turn the darkness of the world into light. And for a hot minute there, I lost sight of that purpose of mine. I didn't see the value in myself, so I didn't think I could bring value to others. But sometimes it's in the lack of feeling value in ourselves that we bring out the value in others and we lift others up around us. Hurt people tend to hurt people, but healed people, they heal people. And I intend to continue on this healing journey to hopefully have the beautiful opportunity to heal more people in my life's journey. That is basically what happened to me. That is where I've been. This absence of 2024 for me was so necessary and so beautiful. And I just feel like I can show up now as me again. And for a moment there, even with my content, I lost sight of what's the word I'm looking for? My ability to own my truth despite the non-believers. I started worrying, if I share this with people, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're going to think this. They're going to think that. I don't care anymore. And when I started my channel, I did not care. As in, like, I know my truth and I'm going to share it. And whether or not you believe it, I hope that you can take something great from it, whether it's just entertainment. And that's that. But I now know, if I show up with a pure heart and really genuine intentions and I surrender, only good can come from that. So that is where I've been. I am so grateful to be back. I know I say this all the time, but I will be reading through every single comment on this video. I'll be replying to a ton of comments. So let me know what kind of content you want to see from me. I have some very 2017 Hailey Reese type content coming. You guys have no idea. I'm so excited. But I've also got some cases I've been really excited to dive into, and I'm ready for it. The first half of this year was the healing. And now it's time to create and rise from those ashes and bring light back into the world again, both for myself and for those that I'm lucky enough to meet and interact with on my path. If you are in a dark place right now, I want to remind you, there really is light at the end of every single dark tunnel. You are worthy. You are loved. It is never too late for you. You are on your own soul's journey. Don't compare yourself to others. Comparison is honestly the absolute worst thing you could do to yourself. So just remind yourself, you woke up for a purpose. You have a reason that you are here. I don't believe in coincidences. You watched this video in its entirety for a reason. And I'm just so grateful that you are here. Thank you so much to each and every one of you who has not given up on me over the years. These were some of the darkest years of my life, and seeing your encouraging comments every time I posted a video, and every time that you would be like, I'm just so excited that you're back, it means the world. Because throughout this time, the little darkness that comes around and tries to steal joy was there telling me nobody cares anymore. Nobody wants to watch you anymore. And it would prolong my uploading. But now I'm like, I don't care. Even if 10 of you want to watch my videos, I will be here creating them. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, or you are just not yet subscribed, but you enjoy my content, I would love it if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button. And please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. Remember, my loves, to do all things with kindness and never forget your worth or your purpose. And until next time, I love you. Bye, guys.